Put the phone down. Close every other tab. Tell whoever is near you that you need 5 minutes alone, because what I am about to say to you, it cannot be half heard. It cannot be background noise. This message carries a weight that demands your full attention, and if you give it that, if you stay with me from this moment until the very end, your life will never look the same again. This is not content. This is a warning, and warnings are only useful to the people who stop and listen. There are moments in a person's life that function as dividing lines. Before this moment, after this moment, you will remember exactly where you were sitting right now, what the room looked like, what time it was, because something is about to shift in your understanding so completely that the version of you who pressed play on this video and the version of you who finishes it, they are not the same person. That is not a promise I make lightly. That is the weight of what God is placing on this message, because He has been trying to get your attention for longer than you realize, through circumstances, through people, through that quiet inner voice that speaks in the moments between waking and sleeping, through the restlessness that will not leave you no matter how much you distract yourself, through the tears that come from nowhere, through the dreams that feel more real than waking life, through every sign, every synchronicity, every moment that made you pause and think. That cannot be a coincidence. He has been trying to get your attention, and today, right now, He has it. The question is what you do with it, because here is the truth that this message is built on. The truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding because it is easier to stay asleep than to wake up and face the magnitude of what they are carrying. The truth that is uncomfortable and liberating at the same time. You were chosen by God. Not selected from a lineup, not picked at random, chosen deliberately, intentionally. Before you were born, before your name was given, before your parents even knew you existed, you were already chosen, already set apart, already marked for something that most people on this earth will never be asked to carry. And with that choosing comes a responsibility so enormous that God will do whatever it takes to make sure you do not miss it, including sending you this message, including arranging your entire timeline, every detour, every delay, every disappointment, every door that closed, to bring you to this exact moment where you are finally ready to hear what He has been saying all along. Are you ready? Because I need you to understand something before we go any further. I need you to understand the weight of the word regret, because the title of this message is not dramatic language. It is not a marketing hook. It is a spiritual reality that every chosen one who has ever ignored their calling has eventually come face to face with. Regret. Not the small, surface-level regret of wishing you had made a different choice at a restaurant or bought a different car. The deep, soul-level regret of a person who stood at the intersection of their divine destiny and turned left when God said, "Go right." The regret of a person who felt the calling clearly, undeniably, and chose comfort instead, who felt the assignment pressing on their chest every morning for years and kept saying tomorrow, next month, when things settle down, when I feel more ready, and then one day looked up and the window had passed, the door had moved, the season had changed, and they were left holding a life that was comfortable enough but never quite right, never quite full, never quiet in the way that peace is quiet. Always carrying a low-grade ache in the center of their chest that they could never quite name, because naming it would mean admitting that they had chosen smallness when greatness was offered to them. I'm not going to let that be your story, which is why I need you to pay attention now, not later, not when it is more convenient, not after you finish what you were doing before this video interrupted you. Now. Because the Spirit of God does not schedule appointments around human convenience. He moves when it is time. And it is time. Let me tell you what being chosen by God actually means, because the church version of this truth and the full version of this truth are two very different things. The church version says you are chosen, you are loved, you are blessed, and those things are all true, but they are incomplete. The full version says this: you are chosen, which means you carry something rare. You are loved, which means you will be prepared through fire as well as through grace. You are blessed, which means blessing will require you to be broken open first so that what God placed inside you can actually come out and reach the people it was designed to reach. Chosen is not a comfort title. Chosen is a call to the front lines, And the front lines are not always safe. They are not always celebrated. They are not always understood by the people watching from a distance. Chosen ones throughout all of history have been misunderstood, underestimated, rejected by the very people they were sent to serve, abandoned by those who promised to stay, and pushed to the absolute limits of their human capacity, not because God was cruel, but because the assignment required someone who had been tested to that depth. You have been tested. I know you have. I can speak to you with that certainty because the kind of person who finds this message at this stage of their journey has already been through something that should have broken them, something that statistically, humanly, logically should have ended them. And it did not. That survival is not luck. That survival is evidence of divine protection over a life that God has not finished using. You are still here because you are still needed. And the need is urgent, because we are living in a time unlike any that has come before, a time when darkness is bold and loud and unashamed, a time when confusion is being manufactured and distributed at a scale that would have been unimaginable a generation ago, a time when people are hungry, desperately, achingly hungry for something real, for something true, for something that speaks to the part of them that knows there is more to existence than what the world is offering. And God has positioned specific people, chosen people, to be the answer to that hunger. You are one of those people, which is why the enemy has been working so hard against you. Because here is something that chosen ones need to understand at the deepest level possible. The level of opposition you have faced in your life is not evidence that God has forgotten you. It is evidence that the enemy knows what you carry. The enemy does not waste resources on people who are not threats. He does not deploy his most sophisticated weapons against average people living average lives with no divine assignment. He deploys them against chosen ones, specifically, strategically, persistently. Think about your life. Think about the attacks that have come. Not the small inconveniences, but the real attacks, the ones that targeted your identity, your confidence, your belief in your own calling, the relationships that were designed to diminish you, the voices that told you that you were too much and not enough at the same time, the seasons of such profound isolation that you began to wonder if you had imagined the whole thing, the sense of calling, the sense of purpose, the sense of being set apart. You did not imagine it. Every attack was confirmation. Every single time the enemy came for something specific in your life, your peace, your vision, your faith, your key relationships, he was telling you exactly what he was afraid of. He was showing you through the precision of his attacks what your breakthrough looked like, because he attacks preemptively. He does not wait for you to step into your assignment and then try to undo it. He tries to prevent it. He attacks the seed before it becomes the tree. He attacks the calling before it becomes the ministry, the business, the movement, the family legacy, the healing, the art, whatever form your assignment takes. The attack map of your life is the blueprint of your assignment. Read that again. The attack map of your life is the blueprint of your assignment. Where has the enemy consistently targeted you? That is where your power lives. That is where your breakthrough is waiting. That is the area where, when you finally step fully into it, the impact will be so significant that everything the enemy did to prevent it will seem small in comparison. Now let me talk about attention, because the title of this message is not accidental. Pay attention now or regret every breath. Attention is not passive. Attention is a form of spiritual positioning. Where you place your attention is where your energy flows. Where your energy flows is where your life builds. And most people are giving the majority of their attention, their precious, irreplaceable, divinely assigned attention, to things that are consuming them rather than building them. The enemy knows this. He has constructed an entire system designed to capture the attention of chosen ones and redirect it toward things that produce anxiety, comparison, distraction, and spiritual numbness. And it is working brilliantly, because most chosen ones are so overstimulated, so overwhelmed, so bombarded by noise, that the quiet voice of God is being drowned out by the volume of the world. And the quiet voice of God is where your instructions live. Your breakthrough is not in the noise. It is in the quiet. It is in the space between the stimulus and the response. It is in the 5 minutes of stillness you keep promising yourself and never taking. It is in the prayer that is not a performance but a conversation. It is in the moment you turn everything off and let God speak. He is speaking right now. through this message, through the specific words landing in the specific order in your spirit, through the things that are making something in you say, yes, that is it. That is exactly what I have been feeling but could not say. That recognition is divine communication, and I need you to pay attention to it. Because the regret I am warning you about does not come from big, dramatic failures. It comes from 1,000 small moments of not paying attention. 1,000 times you felt the nudge and scrolled past it. 1,000 times you heard the instruction and told yourself you would get to it later. 1,000 moments where God was speaking and you were somewhere else. Regret is built one distracted moment at a time, and breakthrough is built one attentive moment at a time. This is your attentive moment. This is the moment you were guided to, the moment that was prepared for you. And everything I have said in part 1 is the foundation for what comes in part 2, because in part 2 I'm going to tell you specifically what God is asking of you right now, what the assignment looks like, what paying attention actually requires in practical terms, what the next steps are for a chosen one who is finally fully awake, and most importantly, what happens to the chosen one who chooses to stay awake from this moment forward rather than going back to sleep. The stakes are real. The window is open. Stay with me. You stayed. And I want you to understand what that means. Not in a casual sense, in a spiritual sense. The fact that you are here at part 2, still listening, still present, still giving this message your full attention, that is not small. That is a decision your spirit made before your mind could overthink it. That is the chosen one in you recognizing something it has been looking for. Stay exactly where you are. Because part 2 is where everything becomes specific. Everything becomes actionable. Everything becomes real. I want to begin with a question that I need you to sit inside rather than answer quickly. Sit inside it the way you sit inside a room when you first walk in, feeling the temperature, noticing the light, letting your senses calibrate before you start moving around. The question is this: what would your life look like if you took God completely at His word, not partially? Not with the fine print of your fears and the footnotes of your doubts. Completely. What if every promise that resonated in your spirit was not wishful thinking, but actual information about your future? What if the sense of calling you have carried since you were young was not a personality quirk or a coping mechanism, but a divine blueprint? What if the reason you have never fully fit into any of the categories the world offered you, any of the boxes, any of the groups, any of the standard life templates, was because you were never designed for any of them? What if you were designed for something that does not have a category yet? Because chosen ones rarely fit existing categories. They do not slot neatly into established structures. They are not the archetype that society has a ready-made place for. They are the ones who have to build the place, who have to create the structure, who have to be willing to exist without a template because their assignment is to become the template for others who come after them. That is a lonely road in the beginning. It is supposed to be. Not because God is cruel, but because the calibration required to carry an original assignment cannot happen in a crowd. It happens in the wilderness, it happens in the isolation, it happens in the long, quiet, seemingly invisible seasons where nothing appears to be moving on the surface while everything is being built underground. Your underground season is ending. I want you to understand what that means practically. Underground seasons feel like failure because there is no visible evidence of growth. A seed underground looks exactly like a dead thing to anyone watching from the surface. No leaves, no fruit, no indication that anything is happening. But underground, in the dark, in the pressure of the soil, the root system is being established. The architecture that will support everything visible is being built in the place where no one can see it. Your root system is complete. What is about to emerge from your life is going to confuse people who were watching the surface and seeing nothing. It is going to look sudden. It is going to look like overnight success to everyone who did not see the underground years. Let them be confused. Let them be surprised. Let them say they always knew you had it in you. Even the ones who told you that you were wasting your time. You know the truth. You know it was not overnight. You know it was not luck. You know it was years of underground faithfulness, staying rooted when everything above the surface was dying, maintaining depth when the surface was dry, trusting the process when the process was invisible. That faithfulness is about to be rewarded. But now let me get specific, because spiritual encouragement without practical application is just emotional comfort. And I told you this message is a catalyst, not a comfort. So let me tell you exactly what paying attention now requires. Let me break it down into the specific areas of your life where God is asking for your focused, intentional, courageous attention. The first area is your voice. You have been quiet for too long. Not the quiet of peace, the quiet of suppression. You have been holding back something that needs to come out, a story, a message, a creative work, a truth that you have been carrying for so long it has become heavy, a conversation that needs to happen, a boundary that needs to be spoken, a dream that needs to be declared out loud rather than kept safe inside where no one can tell you it is impossible. Your voice is part of your assignment. Every chosen one has a specific sound, a specific frequency of communication that reaches the people they were designed to reach in a way that nothing else can. When you speak from your authentic place, not the performed place, not the socially acceptable place, but the real, raw, divinely wired place, something happens in the room, something shifts. People feel it before they can explain it, because they are not just hearing your words, they are feeling the anointing on them. You have been keeping that sound to yourself, and people who needed to hear it have been going without. God is asking you to open your mouth, to write the words, to make the content, to have the conversation, to stand in the room and say the thing that everyone is thinking, but no one has the courage to say. That is part of your assignment. That is part of why you were chosen. The second area is your energy, specifically where it is going. Because chosen ones are energetically generous by nature. They give. They pour. They invest in people and projects and relationships with the kind of wholehearted commitment that is rare. And that generosity is beautiful. It is one of the hallmarks of a divine assignment. But it becomes destructive when it is not directed by discernment. Right now, in this season, I need you to perform an honest audit of your energy expenditure. Who are you pouring into that is not receiving what you are giving, not growing from it, not reciprocating in any form? What relationships are you maintaining out of obligation, out of history, out of the fear of disappointing someone, rather than out of genuine divine connection? What projects are you investing in because they are safe and familiar, rather than because they align with your actual assignment? Because every ounce of energy you spend in the wrong direction is an ounce that does not reach your breakthrough. And breakthroughs require concentrated energy. They require the focused, sustained, intentional application of your gifts and your attention toward the thing God has actually called you to, not the things you have settled for because they were available. Withdraw your energy from what is not assigned. Reinvest it in what is. That withdrawal will feel like loss at first. People will notice. Some of them will not understand. Some of them will be hurt. Do it anyway, because the pain of disappointing people who were never meant to hold your highest energy is temporary. The cost of giving your highest energy to the wrong things for the rest of your life is permanent. The third area is your belief infrastructure. And this is the most important one, because everything else, the voice, the energy, the steps, the moves, all of it runs on the fuel of belief. And most chosen ones are operating on a belief infrastructure that was built during their most painful seasons rather than their most faith-filled ones. Belief infrastructure is the internal architecture of what you think is actually possible for you, not what you know is possible in theory. What you actually believe in your gut, in the quiet place, is possible for you specifically. And for most chosen ones, after the seasons they have been through, after the disappointments and the failures and the betrayals and the delays, that infrastructure is compromised. You believe God can do miracles. You have seen them. You believe God is good. You have experienced it. But somewhere in the part of you that is private and honest, you are not quite sure that God is going to do it for you, that the miracle will happen for you, that the breakthrough will land in your specific life and not just in the inspirational stories you watch to stay motivated. That is the belief gap. And closing it is the most important spiritual work you can do right now. Here is how you close it, not with more inspirational content, not with positive affirmations shouted into a mirror. You close the belief gap by building an evidence archive, by sitting down, literally sitting down, and writing every single instance in your life where God came through. Every time you were at the end of yourself and something shifted, every time a door opened that had no business opening, every time you survived something that should have ended you, every provision that came from nowhere, every protection you only recognized in retrospect. Write them down, all of them. Because the enemy uses forgetfulness as a weapon. He counts on you focusing on the current difficulty and forgetting the historical faithfulness. He needs you to look at today's problem without the context of yesterday's miracle. Because when you have the full picture, when you can see the unbroken chain of God's intervention in your life stretching all the way back to the beginning, the current situation loses its power to make you doubt. You have too much evidence to doubt. Build the archive. Read it daily. Let it be the foundation from which you act in this season. Now let me talk about the regret warning specifically, because I said pay attention now or regret every breath. And I want to be precise about what that regret looks like so you can feel its weight and let it motivate rather than paralyze you. The deepest regret a chosen one carries is not the regret of things done. It is the regret of things left undone. The book not written, the message not delivered, the business not built, the person not helped because you were too afraid to show up as fully as you were designed to, the legacy not left because you played it safe with a life that was designed to be played boldly. Think about the people your assignment is designed to reach. They exist right now. Real people, living real lives, carrying real pain, looking for real answers. And your story, your specific, particular, only you could carry it story, is the answer that some of them have been searching for. The thing you went through, the specific texture of your specific suffering and your specific survival, is the exact thing that will reach someone else who is going through the same thing and feeling alone in it. Every day you stay silent is a day they stay without. Every day you stay small is a day the people assigned to your voice go without the thing they need. That is not guilt. That is clarity. There is a difference. Guilt says you are bad for not doing it. Clarity says someone needs you to do it. Act from clarity. Move from clarity. Let the reality of the people your assignment is designed to reach be more motivating than the fear of being seen. Because being seen is uncomfortable, but the alternative, remaining invisible in a life that was designed to impact others, is devastating, not just to you, to the people who needed you. Now I want to end this message with something specific, something that you can carry out of this video and into your actual life today, not tomorrow. Today, I want you to make a declaration, out loud, in the room you are in right now, with your actual voice, because there is power in the spoken word that does not exist in the thought. The spiritual atmosphere responds to declaration. Creation itself was spoken into existence. And what you are about to speak into existence is the next chapter of your life. The chapter where you stop treating your divine assignment as a side project and start treating it as the main event. Say this, and mean every word. Say, I am chosen by God. My assignment is real. My calling is not a fantasy. My breakthrough is prepared. I will not look away from what God is showing me. I will not sleep through this season. I will not let fear write the rest of my story. I am paying attention. I am fully awake. And starting today, I move. Say it again if you need to. Let it land. Because the moment you spoke that, the moment those words left your mouth, something shifted in the spiritual atmosphere over your life. A declaration made by a chosen one in a season of divine activation is not just words. It is an act of spiritual positioning. It is you saying to the God who chose you, I receive it, I believe it, I will move accordingly. And God responds to that every single time. The regret I warned you about at the beginning of this message is not your story. It was never meant to be your story. It was meant to be the warning that woke you up so that your actual story, the one God wrote before you were born, could finally be lived. Live it. Every breath, every moment, every decision, with full attention, with full faith, with full surrender to the God who chose you before you chose him. The door is open. The assignment is clear. The time is now. Do not look.